I just pulled 2 ripe plueries off my young pluery tree. These are the last of the crop out here, but my tree out in front has a whole bunch, so I'm going to go get those this morning too. Hi everyone, Kim here at Olive City Homestead. In today's video, I'm going to share with you all sorts of fruit trees I'm growing. I haven't counted lately, but I'm thinking I've got over 75 fruit and nut trees now, and all of them are interesting and rewarding. I haven't had any deads yet, and it has been an amazing journey. Starting with just a few apples, plums, peaches, and pluots, I have now expanded to all sorts of trees, even collecting tropical trees now. And it's been a fascinating time watching these trees grow from very young 1, 2, 3-year-old plants to what they are today. Some of them going on 5, 6 years old now, but most younger. Still many are fruiting and fruiting well at this point. There's really nothing like fresh, delicious fruit for a snack, for a dessert, for making them a main part of your meals. Very nutritious and, of course, scrumptious. Really, the varieties are endless. If you start researching a little bit, watching a few fun YouTube channels like Virginia Fruit Grower, Arizona Fruit Trees, and so many more, you will find an endless amount of possibilities to grow in your zone, wherever you live in the world. And it's so much fun looking through all the types you could possibly grow, comparing them, and deciding what you're going to plant in your own fruit orchard, even if it's just a few trees in your own backyard. You know, I can't recommend growing fruit trees highly enough. They're so simple to get started, relatively inexpensive considering what you're going to get from them for so many years in the future, and for so little care after you get them established that first year. Really, even in the first year, very little care. Of course, I am not going to share with you all my fruit trees. That would take forever. But I do like occasionally to share with you how they're looking, how they're doing overall, and how their fruit is tasting. So come with me today and let's check out a few fruit trees. Here is one of my Santa Rosa plums. It's young, it's only 3 years old, but it is full of fruit. I have been actually harvesting fruit off it for 2 weeks, and it still has a lot on it that I'm going to take off now. This is a absolutely delicious plum, and you can tell when they just fall right off like that they're totally ripe. This year I've been lucky. The birds have not decimated them. In fact, they barely touched them. That's been great. And the Santa Rosa plum is a great one to grow because not only is it super hardy and super productive, but also it's a great pollinator for your other plums and your pluots. So I have a lot of pluot trees nearby, like this one right here, my Flavor King. And they are pollinated by the Santa Rosa plum, as well as a couple other kinds of pluots. But it's really great to have a Santa Rosa plum nearby for cross-pollinating needs. So many apples. I love apples. Can't get enough. I actually have 10 apple trees, I believe. All different kinds. Some bear close to the main trunk. Others branch out more widely, but all of them are delicious in their own way and so very healthy. And these are sugar prunes, very young tree, 3 years old, and it is loaded. Young butternut tree. And 2 of the trees I'm the most happy with on my entire property are my pecan trees. Pecans can be some of the hardest trees to get going, especially from bare root. They're actually the only fruit or nut tree, other than citrus, that I started as potted plants. It was well worth it though, because last year I got my first harvest much sooner than had been predicted. And oh my goodness, pecans? Well, they're my favorite nut of all, and they were so good. Of course, I had to compete with the squirrels for them, but I'm willing to do that. The peaches are ripening, lots more peaches. Pears, I have lots of different kinds of pears that are ripening now. Here's some more different kinds of pears. I have like 5 different varieties. Got this one going sideways, which is actually better for the tree. Gives it a lot more sun if you can get the branches to go sideways. There's a bunch down there. Probably should have thinned those, but the branches are pretty sturdy on this tree. It's older. And take a look at this fig. It's about 7 years old. It's a brown turkey, and it's giving me my second round of figs right now. They're just starting out, but it is full of them. It always gives me 2 sets. One year it even gave me 3 sets of figs. And yeah, very prolific brown turkey fig and super hardy. Here in zone 9B. More pears. And more. Looking forward to pears this fall. So let's get busy harvesting these. I wonder how many I'm going to get. I've already probably harvested a good 50 or 60 over the last 2 weeks. Let's see how many more there are. Just look at all that fresh goodness. So I counted, I've got 40 plums in here and a dozen of the plueries. Now the plueries are one of the first fruits to ripen, so these are the last of them, and you can see they're kind of heart-shaped, most of them. Some are just round, but they're cross, of course, between plums and cherries, and boy, do they have an interesting sweet taste. In fact, that's their name, Sweet Treat Pluerie. And oh, you know, that strawberry that was ripe, I'm gonna have to eat that right now. Oh, that was worth it. That was worth the whole tour in the heat. So as I said, there was 40 Santa Rosa plums here that I pulled off the tree. I left 50 or 60 on the tree because when my kids come back in a week, I want them to have some to eat. If I notice the birds starting to go after them, I'll put some tulle around them. So I'm going to enjoy all these fresh plums and plueries. I may make some jam. That's an easy thing to do. If you look at that kumquat jam video I did, you'll see it really isn't hard at all. In fact, with a bigger fruit like this compared to the little tiny kumquats, it'll be even easier. Strawberry tree sending out new blossoms. Even though it already does have fruit on it that will ripen as we move into fall. These are some brand new blossoms. They haven't opened up yet. We're going to have a lot of blossoms on the tree this year, I can tell. So this is the Buddha's hand tree that suffered so much during the winter from the cold that it had barely a leaf on it, and the leaves that were on it were really yellow and brown. But as you can see, it has shot back with a lot of new growth and fruit. Do you see that? And there's more. There's blossoms, new green leaves, more blossoms, and more new growth. I'm really hopeful this tree's going to bounce back and start thriving. And the grapes are looking fabulous this year. Lots and lots of them all over the vines. Yeah, and all the way up. Just tons and tons of grapes. Little fig tree here in this pot. Did send out a lot of new growth, but I don't think it's getting enough sun here to grow as much as it could. My other fig trees have figs on them and have shot up much taller. Look, my little baby fig tree, along with dandelions growing everywhere around it. On it are growing a couple of figs. This is a tiger panache, and it is delicious. Good job, little fig tree. Not so good job me, who needs to mow. desperately. Mulberry tree is loaded. Now, at this stage, they're nowhere near ripe, but they're pretty, aren't they? I've been harvesting for weeks and weeks. So this is a second and third round crops. There's a few dark ones, but these are mostly all new berries. Oh, I forgot to show you my wonderful miracle pink variegated lemon tree right over here by the berries and green onions. Here it is, looking fabulous. And up close, I'll show you the lemons. So I've got a couple growing right on top there. Got a big one right there. And a few more down in the middle. This tree just really is a miracle. And yeah, I need to cut off that tomato cage because it's doing absolutely nothing. But that tree, I'm so happy. And even if just one of those lemons grows to proper ripeness, I am super going to enjoy it this year. One nice thing about a tree that's come back from being broken like this one was way down at the graft joint is that its roots are super strong because they've been growing a lot longer than the rest of the tree. And this tree is enjoying that strong root system and doing very well. Some more coreopsis, I just love those, and lobelia. And this is a fuzzy kiwi, and it's a male. I had a female, but the female died last year, and the male was just like barely surviving. And suddenly this year, the male decided to take off, and it's just growing like nuts. I think it must be that I've got it where it gets afternoon shade now. It still gets sun all day from sun up till about 2 p.m., but then it gets shade. Whereas it wasn't a position last year where it got sun till about 5 or 6 p.m. I think that change has helped it. And the problem was I could not find a female anywhere this year. I looked and looked and looked. So no fruit, but when I finally get a female, I've already got a really healthy male for it. And look at the kumquat tree. If you remember, a few weeks ago I did a video where I harvested all the kumquats and made kumquat jam, as well as a delicious kumquatarita. But look, what I hope for has happened. Do you see those blossoms? Yeah, the tree is full of blossoms. And if you look carefully, you can see little baby kumquats there and there. So yeah, it's going to be full of kumquats again very soon. And this is a version of a cherry tree. It's not the most recent one I just planted. It's not the Barbados. Can you guess what it is? It's a Suriname cherry. It's really bushing out. I think I'm gonna stake it up. It'll still have side growth coming out, but I think I might stake up the main stalk. Yeah, it's a Suriname cherry, and it didn't suffer at all over the winter despite being a tropical tree, so I'm really happy with it and sending out lots of new growth. Now, speaking of my Barbados cherry, here they are. And you might notice some wear marks or damage marks on some of the leaves. You know, whenever you transplant a brand new seedling or plant of any kind, you are likely to get some slight transplant damage, weather related usually, especially if you're doing the transplanting in the heat. But as long as you're careful, that's okay. Yes, some of the older leaves have a little bit of damage, but also look, brand new growth coming out there in 2 new branches at the top and lower down. This branch with the older leaves here have sent out new growth, new leaves and new growth at the tip. So this plant, this Barbados cherry tree, is actually doing quite well. I've moved them now where they're going to be getting a little more afternoon sun than they've been getting. And then probably next week I'll move them out even more into the full sun. We'll see. I will take it slow. But look here. This one also, lots of new growth on top that looks very healthy. Even the tiny little extra free plant. If you watched the video I did on planting the Barbados cherries, remember I got a free plant that was super tiny. It had almost no roots. It also is sending out new leaves and new growth there on the top. So I feel very good about all 3 of these Barbados cherry trees. Thanks for joining me today, folks. I hope you enjoyed seeing some fruit trees. And more than that, I hope that it's inspired you to get out there, start thinking, start researching, start choosing some fruit trees that you want to grow, that you want to enjoy the fruit from as soon as possible. Because if that's what you'd like to do, if that's what you'd like to try, you certainly can. There is nothing stopping you. Let me encourage you that you don't want to put this off. If you think you'd like to grow fruit trees, if you love fruit, well, do it now. Plant those bare root trees this coming winter. Go get some potted citrus or pecans right now and put them in the ground, because with fruit trees and nut trees, the sooner you get going, the sooner you get them established, the sooner you're going to be enjoying your dream of harvesting and eating your own fruits and nuts. That's the dream I had when I found myself buying tons of pluots and peaches every week at the farmer's market. I thought, wait a minute, why don't I just plant these trees myself? And so I did, and so can you. Don't wait. Get going now. Remember, you can create the life you want, and the garden you want, and the fruit and nut tree orchard you want. So why not start right now? See you next time, folks, and have a wonderful week. Wow, look at all those apples.